Okay, welcome back to the channel. We're going to talk about navigating through Jupiter X, the basics, okay? And sort of in a domestic capacity, in the sense that you bought it and you want to just kind of browse the presets, perhaps even make your own patch from even an initialized tone from within each model that you're using. So it's really a walk through the basic architecture so you know how to navigate through, where to start, and where you're going to eventually get up to. So basically, powering the Jupiter 8 on puts you in scene mode just by default, okay? And likelihood is you're going to come up with this particular sound, which is, let's see, bank 1, sound 1, okay? Which is this sound here. Actually, this sound here. And that thing comes factory like this, by the way. So one of the cool ways, before talking about picking a sound, is to find a slot that might have an initialized patch, or you can even initialize this one, which is easy to do because it won't save until you actually write the patch in there. So, but for now, I'm just gonna pick a bank that I know where there's an initialized scene, which is right here. Okay. So what we have is basically somewhat of a naked scene. As a matter of fact, if I hit the right button to perform an initialization at the scene level, which I'm going to do right now, it actually defaults to the Jupiter 8 patch, dry. Okay, so now we're hitting part, and you're going to be using these three buttons quite a bit: part, model, and scene, especially when you're setting patches up or setting and designing a sound. So it's quite simple. You have 5 select buttons, and these are actually selecting the part, okay? And inside each part, you have the ability to choose different models, okay? And then these are your on-off switches for your parts, and then your on-off switches while this is lit for your multi-effects, okay? They're just quick switches, select switches, okay? So if I go into here, I have part 1, naked. I have the monitor on, and if I want to actually choose a model, I just hit model bank, okay? And model will only be lit right here, okay? So if I want to pick a JX, for example, now these are presets. These aren't just naked sounds, okay? These are already presets here within the model bank. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to just be listening, seeing only JX models. So if I pick Juno, I'm only going to see Juno sounds here, okay? Or if I pick Jupiter, I'm only going to see Jupiter presets. So it's kind of nice that I don't have to, from the get-go, like on the Phantom, have to scroll through a hierarchy of categories or hierarchy of models within a category, and then of sounds. This is a nice break away from that whole concept. Here's my JD 800. Okay, model bank, which is way over here. All assignable. This is actually sticker. You can actually take this off if you want to. These are just preloaded like this. But you can assign any one of these models to any one of these color keys. Let's keep it factory for now, because it's kind of how I'm used to. Here's the 5080. Okay, that was the model that was the biggest question for me as it relates. I've got 5080s and Integras, but it was the biggest question how this all interacted with the engine. Because as you know, those of you that are 5080 owners, you had to go in and push a lot of buttons and scroll through a lot of menus to do some basic stuff. And this is the first time that you get the 5080 in a piece of hardware where you can actually alter stuff, right? Like the cutoffs. This can all happen now, right? Cool. All right, from the beginning. So anyway, the 5080. So let's just pick the Jupiter for now for part 1 select. If I want to bring another part into the sound palette, I got 4 slots to do it. This gives me the second slot that I'm going to choose in a particular scene, which is an initialized scene. Now, if I want to hear that part, even more importantly, hear that part and not hear the Jupiter part, well, I can turn the Jupiter part off, the part on off, and I'll turn the Juno 106 part on. Okay, it's an init tone. Let's go to preset. I'm going to pick this sound. Okay, for now. So now I've got 2 sounds. One for one model bank, one for another model bank. Now you might be asking, well, as you're building, how do you change the volumes? Tricky question, but the answer is you can do it through the menus, or, which is, by the way, a couple button pushes. It's really actually, call it, it's actually at the scene level that you do it at, and then it's, it's like a pain in the neck, really. So, part level. So it's like scene level, press, and that's how you adjust it. But there's a better way to do it, which, if I hit this and hold this down like this, these oscillator mixer now becomes your part 1 through 4. Rhythm is amp. So check this out. Okay. So, for example, let me go back into here, this little mixer mode. So what effectively happens is, as these are flashing, this becomes not just your select, but your mute. So, now becomes a solo, excuse me. Select, solo. So now I'm hearing only Juno. Now I'm only hearing Jupiter. I hear both of them by just holding this down. Okay. So for example, I might want to do an edit on this Juno. And I might want to take it down like an octave down. And that can be done a couple different ways. I can do it at the part level, and I can do it at the oscillator level. Of course, or at the scene level. So anything that's done at the scene level is done in a contextual menu. And anything that's done at the part level, which is like adjusting an oscillator, for example, an envelope, is done at the part level here. Okay, so let me just take part level, which is here, and let me see if I can do this. I'm going to adjust the pitch here. So let's go into here. I'm going to go the Juno. See if it'll let me do it. Not available. Okay, let's see. Part 2, 1, 2. I wonder why they won't let me do that. Do the oscillator. See. Oh, okay. Brain fart. So each model is actually the model of the actual synthesis, and different knobs interact with different models. And they go to the manual, and it'll actually tell you what they do specifically, how they do it. So for example, on the Juno, the pitch adjusts the octave like 16, 8, and 4 Okay. Okay, so for example, now I got them both here, and I just adjusted at the part level, which is affecting the actual oscillator. Okay. Which is effectively adjusting the patch itself. So if I were to go in, and maybe I can do this as an example. I'm going to pick part 3. I'm going to just pick a model, the 5080 specifically. Go back to part. I'm going to turn the part on as far as monitoring. So if I want to adjust that particular patch and go up an octave, I can either do it through the part or I can do it through at the patch level. If I do it at the patch level, I'm doing it per oscillator. So for example, now on the 5080 engine, I got the 4 partials right here. And the way these buttons now interact to that model is different than on the Jupiter. So I believe if I hold one part down and adjust them all, they're all going to go up each oscillator. So for example, in the 5080, look, that's partial 1, partial 2 in that patch, partial 3, partial 4. So already this has got way more control than any 5080 would have had on its own engine. Now let's see if I can adjust it an octave. Right? And we'll go down an octave here. Right here. So now, that's an example of a quick edit done from the panel at the patch level. Okay. Now let's just layer these. Now remember, if I want to adjust the relative part mix, hold down part. Okay. And now these become, remember, these become solo and select switches. These now become part level mixes. So here's SAEP Rhodes, Jupiter, Juno, or Juno, Jupiter. So for example, if I want to have all my reverb settings to be equally applied per part, I can make an effect change on the board on the effects setting, and they'll all be applied evenly to everything that's highlighted. If I just want one to have delay, then I have to deselect and just like the 5080. Do it like this. Maybe a little reverb. And now, delay in the reverb setting is only going to be applied to that. Remember, I can adjust the volume. But if I want to select a sound just on that part, SAEP, I need to make sure that this is selected by itself. So if I add, not add, but change it to DigiEP. Now if I want to hear them all 3 while I'm in this mode, I just hold them all down together. And this would be an example, like if you were using the Juno chorus, which has the loud hiss, and you wanted to take the hiss off of it, all the parts, you could just have them all highlighted and turn the MFX down, and you could change them all evenly or equally, whatever. So that's pretty much the layout of how this works. I'm gonna go show you real quickly. These are some presets I made. this is like a 5080 sound. So what I did here is made presets that were based off of each model. So if I'm in the 5080 mood or in the Juno mood, I just hit that one preset and I'm kind of in the world of just a Juno. It's kind of a quick step thing. But I can take any of these presets, for example, hit part, and I can go to part 3 right here. Hit model bank. So it's highlighted here, as you can see. And I can pick like a JX sound, right? Engine. Go back and I'm off to the races. So if I hit this part thing here, like I showed you, now I'm kind of, and I highlight these 3, you can kind of see the workflow. You're back fast. So I just want to play these 2 and leave the Juno out. Or the 5080 out. And you can work extremely quickly. I can go to this last part, change the model real quick. I'll go to the 5080, for example, which is way down here. And then I'm, you know, here I got the 5080. And I can so that's pretty much the general gist, generally speaking, of how to get around and how to tackle this monster. And it actually really is easy to use. Very intuitive for the most part. And requires just very little muscle memory, maybe 3 days worth of using it. But I hope this answers a lot of questions for people that are looking to buy a synth like this or the Juno X or the Jupiter X. And may perhaps gives you, takes away some of that confusion of how it actually works. So please leave any questions or comments, and until next time, peace out.